Give it about 10 more seconds and then I'll get us going here. All right. Well, I'll turn down the music and we'll get started here. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Global Entrepreneurship Week, Sacramento 2021, powered by Western Health Advantage. This is our final event and panel discussion of GEW 2021, and we're excited to have this impactful and insightful panel lined up for you all on veterans in entrepreneurship and leadership. My name's Cameron Law, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Carlson Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship and as the Sacramento organizer for Global Entrepreneurship Week. I'm joined by one of our team members, Arlene Miranda, who leads our marketing and administrative support here at the Carlson Center. And we also have a whole host of our students in the space doing a viewing party. I guess they turned off their video, but nonetheless would have had them give a wave and say hello. And then for us here at the Carlson Center, we serve as a regional hub and platform for providing approachable and accessible entrepreneurial education, community, and support to enable startup founders of all backgrounds to explore and launch their businesses. And we're on this mission to make innovation and entrepreneurship pervasive throughout the greater Sacramento region and really working towards realizing this vision of making the greater Sacramento region a premier hub for innovation and entrepreneurship. And how we're working on operationalizing that mission and vision is to support entrepreneurs along what we call the entrepreneurial journey, which is a continuum of support where we work at 3 levels of discover, build, and launch. And Global Entrepreneurship Week falls under our discover sets of programs, really creating those on-ramps, pathways, and intersections for entrepreneurs to build community and insights as they go throughout that journey of starting their business. And today for Global Entrepreneurship Week, although it is the last event, we are joining a global community. So Global Entrepreneurship Week is celebrated in over 180 countries throughout the globe, and we are excited to join that celebration of the role innovation and entrepreneurship plays in building thriving communities. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our moderator for the discussion, who will introduce our panelists. But I'd like to introduce Rich Foreman, who is the founding CTO of Cortico. He led the team that developed the Cortico Shield, Cortico Fire Wellness app, and he also leads Cortico's technical operations with over 25 years of experience in leadership, engineering, mobile application, and development and sales. Rich has a BS in industrial engineering from the University of Washington and an MPA from Troy State University, and was an officer in the U.S. Navy. Rich co-authored his book, Tap into the Mobile Economy, and he also has a blog listed in the top 20 marketing mobile blogs of 2014. So we're going to be in good hands here today. He also co-founded a company called Aptology, which was acquired in 2019. So I will stop sharing, hand over to Rich, who's our moderator today, and I will pin the speakers as we go. So thank you all for being here and look forward to the conversation. And Rich, you're muted.
All right. Hey, first off, I just want to give kudos to Cameron and Arlene for how many events did you do this week? 30?
Yes, over 30 events. Yep.
So, thanks for what you do in the community. Thanks for this exhausting week. And I'm sure you two are going to be relaxing right after this webinar here. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce our esteemed panelists today. Drazen Alcocer with Local Vets, and he's actually joining us all the way from Virginia. Marcus Haney, who's well known with our community, and he's the one of the leads the Growth Factory and started his own business, Patriot Procure. And Melissa Washington, she's a Navy veteran, and she also started the Women's Veterans Allowance and also a nonprofit Women Veteran Giving. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so we can focus on you guys per se. So let me stop sharing. All right, and then can we make them the focused, Cameron?
They're spotlit for everyone. So
okay, great. So I'm going to start off with introductions. I figured I'd just give you an overall introduction, but I figured what I like to do is just have you introduce yourself. So I'm going to start with you, Drazen. Can you tell me, like, what did you do in the Marine Corps, and then what is it that you do now?
So I was in 0811, which is artillery in the Marine Corps, and I transitioned from the military and the Marine Corps over into private equity and venture capital now. So
Wow,
that's the super short version of it.
that's pretty. So did you actually go from the Marine Corps directly into private equity?
I did not. No, it's one of those journeys that kind of took me into finance. Then I went into tech. I started a couple companies. I had founders and I had partners that essentially led me to raising capital, and then eventually led me to the company that I'm with now, which deals in private equity, venture capital, and anything that deals with funding. So.
Okay, well, we'll dig more into that in a little bit.
Sure.
Marcus, tell me what you did in the Corps, and tell me about what you're doing now.
Yeah, thanks for having me see some familiar faces out there. I was an 0311 in the Marine Corps. I was an infantry guy. I got deployed overseas 3 different times. I actually took a bullet in the leg in Afghanistan back in 2012. So from there, I transitioned out of the military. I'm from here, from Sacramento, locally, born and raised. My dad is a serial entrepreneur also. So basically, when I got out, I decided I was going to start my own business. So I launched an organization called Haney Enterprises, now known as Patriot Procure. We do a purchasing and procurement enablement for government and large organizations, leveraging my disabled veteran business enterprise certifications nationally. And I also, as you mentioned, go ahead, sorry, Rich.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm finished your statement. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, we just recently launched the Growth Factory in partnership with the Carlson Center. So thanks for your guys' partnership on that. Growth Factory is a venture capital fund here for the local region with an accompanying business accelerator. So any of you folks who are interested in building businesses and want it to grow, then we'd love to hear about what you guys got going on.
All right. And finally, Melissa, tell me what you did. Tell us what you did in the Navy, and then what is it you do now?
Absolutely. So I was in the Navy over 25 years ago, and I was in supply. So my transition the last 20 years have been entrepreneurship, working in corporate America, being laid off, journey of career reinvention. So right now I started a Women Veterans Alliance, which just the quick story about how that started, because it wasn't supposed to be a business or anything like that. Back in 2014, I had just launched my book, and a lot of people know me around here as doing LinkedIn training, which I still do, which I launched my own separate business for my LinkedIn trainings and my book. But I was looking for an opportunity to network in a professional setting with other women veterans, and there wasn't anything here in the greater Sacramento area. So in January 2015, I got about 20 women veterans together at what was El Torito's across the street from Arden Mall. And that was only supposed to be a let's get together the third Thursday of every month group. And we are now a nationwide organization with our primary focus is to serve our women veterans and connecting them with each other and resources. And we do that through networking and events. So I have Women Veterans Alliance. And then I also started our nonprofit partner, which is Women Veterans Giving.
Okay, that's great. The next question is actually, I'll be asking the question to almost all of you. Drazen, what was you had mentioned you've started several businesses. What was your first business and why did you start it?
One of the first businesses that I started dealt with e-commerce, and the reason why was because e-commerce is just an incredible industry. I mean, it's been growing rapidly over the past few years, and there's really no slowing down to that platform at this point. It's still continually growing. I ended up just doing it more for fun than anything else. Eventually, that led me to kind of finding other opportunities that led me to work with other companies and people, in which I was able to do more things that dealt with some of the nonprofit and private sectors. I was also able to sit on some boards for nonprofit organizations, where I was able to kind of be almost like a mentor at that point, just because I have also had a lot of mentorship, and I still do to this day. And so I was able to kind of just turn that knowledge or that experience around and be able to, give back at that point. I think when it comes to e-commerce, that's generally one of the things that I love to be able to talk about. But anything that deals with technology, simply because, again, like I said, my background is kind of all over the place, simply because I got to be, and I am like a serial entrepreneur, meaning that I've gotten to work in a lot of different organizations with a lot of different companies, a lot of different industries, and it's all been pretty amazing so far.
All right. And then Scott, Marcus, your journey, like when I left the Navy, I just got a corporate job, and you went from the Marine Corps directly to starting your own business. Tell me what that was like, what that process was like.
Yeah, so I got talked into it by a friend, actually. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do, probably similarly to most veterans getting out of the military. What am I going to do when I get older? So I started doing some college courses and realized that wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't have any passion for that realistically. So I got introduced to the ability for government contracting, and live in Sacramento, which I guess everybody sort of does here on this call. But so there's a lot of opportunity with those organizations to sell stuff. So I got into understanding what those procurement life cycles are, who to contact, and really just hit the ground running. I don't have a college education, but I know how to work hard, and I know how to put myself in front of some people and be able to talk a little bit and get myself some opportunity. So ultimately, the transition was challenging, and going from a very structured organization like the Marine Corps to being your own boss sometimes is like, okay, am I the only one drinking my own Kool-Aid here? So it took some time to get your legs underneath you, especially when you're dealing with high dollar contracts and lots of folks. So really understanding how to leverage technology to work to your advantage, and leverage people that within the community to help you scale.
So one thing, you have the disabled service veteran certification. Like, how has that helped you, Marcus?
That's really why I started my supply company. As I got talked into it by a friend and said, "Hey, there's opportunity here." And I said, "Okay, let me run and gun." And then I started looking up what the big contracts were and how to go about getting certified. So not only did I get certified here locally in the state of California as a disabled veteran business enterprise, but I also got federally certified to be able to work with the federal organizations, as well as a private sector certification through the National Veteran Business Development Council, which works with the Fortune 1000 companies. They're a privately owned private sector certification company with a bunch of connections to the Fortune 1000. And that's helped me to open a lot of doors. I'm sure you folks have all seen the supplier diversity marketing going out from a lot of these large organizations. That's really where the disabled veteran business certification falls into for some of these folks. So it's allowed me to get into the door and ultimately find out how people are buying and what they're buying and what they're looking for, and how I can make a difference on that end. Unfortunately, and I guess properly, having these certifications don't win you contracts. So I don't want to have any false expectations of anybody out there that's in my position that getting a certification is going to fall you into having contracts. It takes legwork, it takes follow-up, and it takes execution, right? So if you have the ability to do all of those in a differentiated manner, then folks tend to listen to you a little bit.
Okay. And Melissa, in terms of, I think prior to this, you actually mentioned you started 3 businesses. Tell me how did you, what was your first business like? And then, how did you, start that? Why did you start that business?
Yeah, so I started in the late 90s, and I was working for a boutique recruiting company. And this was during the .com boom. And so me and one of the guys I worked with, we ended up starting our own company because there was a lot of money to be made with all these new .coms and doing hiring. So that's where I got my feet wet in entrepreneurship. And really got to see the ups and the downs. And then after that, I went into corporate America, but having, the understanding of being a business and what that looks like. And then also having a business partner and those ups and those downs too.
Okay, well, thank you. Marcus brought up something, and I'm going to open this up to everybody. Coming from the military, we came from a very structured background. And in a sense, business is maybe the other way, where there is no ready structure. How did you, and this is open to anybody that wants to answer this, how did you deal with this, having this structured environment or experience to one that's basically free flow? And then I'll just open it up to anybody.
That's probably one of the reasons I got out, too much structure.
No doubt.
Honestly, yeah, I do much better free flowing and entrepreneurship. So that's my honest answer.
Okay. And Marcus, since you brought it up.
You're better than me in that way, Melissa. So what I did was I looked for structure to help me stay on task and build a team that can stay on task and do the right things associated with building a business. So I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever heard of the Entrepreneurial Operating System, the EOS, or read the book Traction by Gino, I forget his last name. But anyway, the EOS system is a structured way for you to look at your organization. It breaks it down by department, by need, by necessity, and really helps you identify where the big target goals are and where the big, oh, thanks Cameron for throwing that in the link, but really, identifies what you need to do as an organization. They're called rocks, right? So if you have these little rocks in your shoe that you're on a hike with, and you can't seem to get them out, then that's what you need to focus on in your business to help you grow a little faster. So unlike Melissa, I had to put myself with some structure and an organization, because I'm probably a little entrepreneurial minded and chase shiny objects and try to go after some stuff that maybe might not be the best best course of action. So but that took me a while to really develop the ability to do that. I got introduced to the EOS system, read the book Traction, and bought into the entire concept, and it's paid dividends.
Yeah, so Rich, I think it really kind of depends, because I had a similar experience to actually both Melissa and Marcus, right? Where one of the first things I did was unstructured, and then right after that, I liked the unstructured version of it, but I also wanted to be able to find some structure around it. So then I found something that was more structured. And having partners or having people that work with you brings more structure anyway, just because people want to know kind of like what the plan is. People want to know what you're working on. So then I found kind of the balance by being able to experiment with both of them. So I think that's the main thing here, right? Just being able to kind of realize where your temperature lies or where your personality is, and then just try to figure out if that's the best fit for you. And then just kind of adapt along the way. I mean, one of the greatest things the Marine Corps taught me, and I'm sure obviously Marcus can, collaborate with this, is something that for whatever reason, a lot of people just didn't seem to learn maybe out in the real world, but it really is just such a short phrase, and it makes the world a difference, which is just adapt and overcome, right? So basically what that means for Marines anyway, it just meant that if you ever find an obstacle, all you're trying to do is figure out how do you adapt to that obstacle and then overcome it. And then you just do that over and over and over again, and to the point where before you know it, you've made a great amount of progress, and you just kind of handled each individual problem, each individual challenge one by one by that point. So when it comes to the structure versus unstructured, I think it just kind of depends on the personality type.
Okay, and actually, Drayton, I'm going to go back to your. If I understand correctly now, when I was looking at your website, it looks like your website specifically helps veteran businesses raise funds. Is that correct?
Yes. So when I first joined this company back in the early stages of 2020, one of the things that I noticed is that, again, they were a company that was focused on being able to, do things with private equity and venture capital. And they were just basically helping out any company that was available. And so one of the first questions I asked the founder, and I was able to have a really good rapport with him, simply because he was a Naval Academy grad and then he went to the Marine Corps afterwards. So now we have this Marine Corps background, the both of us. And I said, you know, you already know how tough it is to transition out of the military. The military typically is one of those organizations that they are highly qualified to do a lot of things, but they may not always seek the help because they want to be able to do it all themselves. So then, especially when it comes to this specific industry, it's such a gray area, right? When you say raise capital, when you say venture, when you say private equity, some people know the meaning of that, but then how do you go about doing that, right? So then I basically said, what if we just kind of focus a lot of our resources into the military and the veteran community, so we can work with a lot of the military and veteran founders. And thankfully, he liked the idea so much that we just kind of decided to double down on the military and veteran community. And we just basically said, you know what, we're going to see how this, this kind of pivot, to the company goes. And if it works really well, then we'll just continue doing it. And thankfully for us, thanks to the military being such a collaborative community, such a close-knit community, it really worked out well for us, simply because the conversations that I was having with people afterwards were much, much different than anybody who was not, a member of the military. Not to say that we still don't work with companies that don't have military veteran founders, but I noticed that the conversations were so much different, simply because one of the main key components to being able to raise any sort of capital always comes down to trust. And trust is something that is earned. And because you have this background, whether it's similar, meaning that you served in the Navy and I served in the Marine Corps, or we both served in the military, or you're a veteran, I'm a veteran, that can build a lot of trust already as is when it comes to being able to establish that with people. And so as you build on that, it makes it easier to have conversations based around capital, whatever you may need at that.
Okay. In fact, I actually, I'm looking through the audience here. I just talked to Scott this week, Scott Holman, and he's a Marine veteran himself. How could he approach you to get some, what's the best route for him to reach out to you and maybe get some advice or, help in raising funds?
I think, I'm not sure how this is going to be distributed among the people that have attended, but I'm happy to share my email and the chat. And anybody who wants to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me. I can have a conversation with you so we can talk about typically what I do with every single company, regardless of size, regardless of industry, regardless of anything. It's kind of like a little bit of a discovery call in that sense, right? Where are you today? What are you working on? Have you raised capital before? What's the capital you're looking to raise, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So then once I'm able to kind of get a better idea of where that company is, then I can figure out, okay, is this a good fit for what we have going on within our ecosystem? Or can I basically, introduce you to some other ecosystems that we're connected to, simply because, again, we're working in this industry, and this industry is very close knit. So now we have connections with other people that may be able to help out, depending on where your journey is when it comes to entrepreneurship or raising capital at that point. So
and
Melissa, my email now.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish your. Yeah, go ahead. You can put it in the chat, and then if you're comfortable with that, you can put it in the chat.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Melissa, for your organization, do you help women veterans just in general, or do you help them maybe transition to civilian life, or do you also help them maybe with entrepreneurship?
All the above. So with our primary focus of getting women connected with each other and resources and networking, so the networking could be whether she's looking to start a business or expand her business, we help with the entrepreneurship piece. Also, if she needs help, with her resume, she needs help getting connected to some employers. That's what we do on a nationwide basis. And I saw that Laura had posted some of the resources there in the chat, which are great resources, from the Small Business Association to the VBOC, the Veterans Business Outreach Center, which is now up in Northridge. And also to women, there's also the Women's Business Center. And then the PTAC, which is I'm going to probably mess that up, the Procurement Technical something or other. So if you're looking to do business with the government, the PTAC, if you're here in the California, Sacramento area, California capital is a great place to connect to and get resources. So that's something too, as we speak with women, and find out where she is with her business. Is it just a concept? Is it something she wrote on a piece of paper? Then we can direct her of all these other resources that are out there that can help that. And on the same lines, that's one of the reasons I started the nonprofit. Is one of the programs is we have a small business award. Being a small business owner myself, and You know, like many others, whether I'm refinancing my house or taking money out of my 401k or my credit card, because there's not a lot of, you know, direct funding when it comes to helping women. And I wasn't looking at taking out a loan. So I don't want women veterans to have to go through that. So we hand out a small business award every year. Last month, we awarded $3,500 to a woman veteran. And it's an award. She doesn't have to pay it back. We want to infuse that cash into her business so she can use it to expand her business. Maybe she needs to pay some bills. And you know, there's a process that goes through that. And also too, we also provide coaching when it comes to that. So for being just a little very grassroots organization with no corporate sponsorship, we've given our almost $15,000 in the last several years to women veterans to help them their business, because that's still such a need when it comes to helping our women veterans in entrepreneurship.
All right. And then Marcus, the Growth Factory just launched like I don't know, like a couple months ago now. And you know, tell us, you know, I think I don't think it's not veteran per se, but just tell us how you're helping, you know, entrepreneurs in this area.
Yeah, so we launched our venture capital fund and nonprofit accelerator called the Growth Factory in May. We've since invested into 15 local companies. One of our portfolio companies is actually a veteran. He's a Navy veteran. His name is John McDonald, and he has a company called Threatrix. It's a cybersecurity company that basically helps organizations look at open source technology and allows them to find the gaps within their licensures and et cetera. You know, and ultimately, our goal is to find the best technology companies with the best rock star entrepreneurs and founders that want to grow quickly. Our network here in Sacramento really sets us apart, I think, for helping folks grow, you folks included, helping these folks understand really where they can put their technology companies into the marketplace. So I know I mentioned the EOS before in the book Traction, but that's really what we focus on is traction, getting companies to square one, because ultimately a good idea is a good idea with some capital. It's still just a good idea unless they have some customers to pay the bills, right? So it is our mission to help these folks find the customers who want their products, and we take a hands-on approach to doing that through our accelerator. We have 75 local mentors that are involved on different levels, whether it's highly engaged down to lower engagement with our cohorts, and we really want to grow the Sacramento region as a whole. And I don't know if anybody knows the statistics. I think Cameron probably does, but Sacramento only got $258 million last year in venture capital dollars into our region, whereas Austin, Portland, and other cities like that are receiving more than $1 billion of venture capital. So it is our mission to put Sacramento on the map there as $1 billion city.
And there's the next question I have, and this is just a general question for anybody, any of you can answer it. What advice would you give to a veteran that's interested in starting their own business? Okay, Marcus?
I would say surround yourself with some good people, depending on where you're at in that life cycle of your business. My guy Tag is on the call here. I see him. And he surrounds himself tremendously with the right people. He's got a cart business. And what did he do? He went and reached out to the #1 manufacturer in the town, Pride Industries, and asked them, hey, if I got a cart sold, could you guys manufacture it for me? And I think that's really where veterans sometimes isolate themselves as business owners and they kind of have a stigmatization about being able to reach out to the community. I think it's important to reach out to people that can benefit you, to know who is in your space, and really try to track down some partners that can help take you to that next level, because ultimately no one builds a company by themselves. And if you can surround yourself with the right people, it's a lot easier to get that win.
That's great advice. Dresden, Melissa, any follow-up question or comments?
Go ahead. I'll let the Marine go first.
All right. Just like Marcus said, it's kind of, for me, my personal experience has been get yourself some really good people or involve yourself with some really good people. Like I said in the very beginning, I've had a lot of great mentorship, and that's one of the reasons why I love being able to give back and mentor veterans or just any entrepreneur in general when it comes to this journey. Simply because one of the things you can do is basically attach yourself to people who may already be doing what you're looking to do, right? In that sense, and then basically one of the things you can do is figure out how much value you can bring to the table to them. And one of the greatest pieces of advice that I was really given at a really early age was, find someone that's living your dream, or find somebody that's doing what you think you would love to do. And then basically go up to them or try to figure out a way to communicate with them and say, hey, is there a way that, we could work together for X number of months or X number of time? This is what I want to be able to learn. I think this is something that I really am interested in. This is what I can do at this point. So then what happens is, most likely, from my experience, a lot of people that are in entrepreneurship, they're always happy to receive some sort of help, especially if you're willing participant and student. So then when you do that, one of the things that ends up happening is that by the end of that 3-month period, 2-month period, 6-month period, whatever that is, you essentially not only have built a really good connection, but you may already have a job lined up for yourself. Because now you've worked with them, you've been able to showcase your skills, you've been able to basically do the best job you could, and you learn from somebody who's already doing what you want to be doing. And so at that point, you have a choice. I stay with this person and I continue learning, or I basically go and move on somewhere else and I do something on my own at that point. But one of the things that I've always tried to do is have an open communication channel, meaning that I've always been very open about my intentions. So if I at any point said, I think at some point I would love to start my own company, is that something that would be okay? Most times, again, people just love transparency. So one of the things that they did is, they said, yeah, absolutely. As long as you tell me, as long as you give me a heads up, I'd be more than happy to support your endeavor or whatever it is that you're trying to do ahead of time. You just don't basically, start your company while you're working with me and then all of a sudden leave me, kind of hanging at that point, because nobody likes that, right? Especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're basically at that point you have people that you're working with, that you're basically trying to make sure that they're there, that they're on time, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, etc. Melissa?
And Melissa?
Get on LinkedIn.
All right.
Seriously, you got to have that, that presence, that connection. Not just because I teach LinkedIn, I worked at LinkedIn, but it's so important. I mean, the connections you can build and the people, it's all about who you know, not what you know. So that definitely helps. And having your profile, having a company profile, getting those connections, because that can give you business as well. I'm not doing a plug to get any training or coaching. I'm just saying, just get on LinkedIn.
You're absolutely correct. Because whenever I engage with somebody, the first thing I do is I look at their LinkedIn profile. I kind of want to see, it's like their resume online, essentially what they've done and etc.
It's the credibility.
I don't think this is intentional, but everyone in the panel actually helps, has a business model where you've helped other entrepreneurs or other people. Can you talk about some of, and I'm just going to open it out to whoever, can you talk about some of your success stories? I'll start off with Drazen, since you're in that world.
Well, I mean, I've taken on so many different people that basically came up to me and they basically said, hey, I'm looking to start a business, or I think I want to start a business. How do I go about doing that? And so again, one of the first things that I do is typically sit down with them.
Well, is there any specific instance, a specific company or a specific person you could talk about?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So a specific person would be somebody that came to me essentially and said, I currently work at a design firm. They were an interior design firm. I'm thinking of starting my own business. How do I go about doing that? So I personally don't have a lot of background in the interior design industry, but when it comes to starting businesses or companies, then that was kind of like my strength, if you want to call it that. So I was basically able to give her some expertise or knowledge in terms of how to be able to go about doing that. And then she was able to go from somebody who was making about $70,000 a year in her job to creating a little bit over $600,000 in revenue for herself the next year, right? And that was simply because she decided to take that leap of faith into entrepreneurship. And again, that's not to say that it's going to happen every single time, but I just saw that she was somebody who was one of those people that was basically in the precipice of, should I do it? Should I not do it? Is this something for me? Is it not? This is not for me. And then she just needed somebody to basically say, yes, you can do it. You have the capabilities, you have the experience, you have the knowledge. You just have to take that leap. And I think that's probably the hardest part for a lot of people, just kind of like taking that leap of faith into entrepreneurship, because it can be very lonely and it can be very difficult at times. So
yeah. Now, Melissa, what about you? Any entrepreneurial success stories you could talk about?
Well, I have success stories, but I also have a story about a woman wanting to start her business. And after having several conversations with her, she realized it wasn't the time for her to start her business. And I think when veterans can talk to veterans, we feel a little bit open about what we want to talk about. And I think that's important for people to know, because there is PTS. I mean, there's other things, not that it's going to prevent her from doing it, but there's things that she needs to work through before starting the business. And I think that's important for us too, as we're talking to veterans, is our mental health piece. I know you wanted a success story, but I just wanted to make sure we put that in there. That affects men and women. And you of course you want to be your best when it comes to owning and running a business.
That's a great point. And Marcus, I know it's a little early for the growth. I mean, you've just started, but any potential success stories or anything you could talk about?
Yeah, we've got some really great companies in cohort 1. As I mentioned, John Veteran, who has Threatrix cybersecurity company. They got some really good traction going right now. So I'm really excited about their future. But I think Rich Foreman, you're a success story, my man. I mean, talking about going from Aptology and selling that puppy. Maybe you should tell the audience on how you did that, because I think you're a poster child for exactly what you're talking about, going from being a code guy, being a developer, and then selling your company. What do you say about that?
That's a way to deflect it. All right, I'll do a quick story. So one of my customers was doing very well. We were making apps for fire departments and police departments. And it started out like we just made one for the Vacaville Police Department. And then 6 months later, we did one for the Dixon. And then it started to snowball where we got, maybe 4 in a month. And then by the time we got to that point, the founder of Cortical, his name is Dr. David Black, asked me and my designer to join full time. And we were busy. Like what we did was made wellness apps for police departments and fire departments. And this is stuff I really didn't know, but very much similar to like the military, the law enforcement has a very high rate of suicide. If you look in 2019, cops, if you look at the rate of cops actually in line of duty deaths were about 150, and suicides by cops was about 220. So cops were killing themselves more than they were getting killed in line of duty. In line of duty was like suicides and not suicides, but getting shot, car accidents, heart attacks. And we just happened to find a really terrific market fit. And so I was really, really busy. And Cortico actually, by the time, I can't mention the numbers now. I used to be able to say the numbers, but we got acquired. We had a very high reoccurring revenue, and we got acquired by a private equity company last year. And we were merged with another company called Lexipol. And now Lexipol just got acquired by another private equity company. So in fact, as I'm talking, our lawyer on the other side of this is actually working out the final details. So it's been a good story. And after working with a lot of a lot of startups, just finding that product market fit is essential. If you don't have that product market fit, you're not going to be successful. So, that's my story. So good way to deflect it, Marcus. You know what? We got a few more minutes. We have non-veterans in here, non-veteran entrepreneurs. And I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to say why they should, if they have the opportunity to hire a veteran. If you guys want to chime in on that, like why should an entrepreneur hire a veteran?
I'll jump in since I deflected. Rich, great job. Your story is so inspiring for all of us. So way to kick butt, man. Selling your company is not easy. Well, part of what I do is run a nonprofit organization called the Allegiant Giving Corporation. We have a program called Patriot U, where we take transitioning military members and train them in high technology jobs or high technology coding, cybersecurity, digital marketing, and we put them through our online training program and then look for opportunities to find them placement in the workplace. And ultimately, what it comes down to is that these organizations don't have access to the same pool of individuals. Veterans are the type that are willing to show up early and stay late, not ask questions that are not necessarily within the scope of work. And I think that hiring veterans is the right thing to do for the country. I think that veterans are everybody. They're every diverse group of people, women, men, every nationality, every creed and color, right? So I think that those folks make up a lot of what we're all looking to hire. And from my perspective, not just because I am a veteran, but I think that those folks really do whatever it takes to get the job done. And I think as an entrepreneur, having somebody who's there by your side that's action oriented and success oriented is really the type of person that you need to put next to you, because in the beginning stages of a company, the two seats to your left and right are all you got. So putting those right people in your life is important, as I mentioned before. And I would advocate that putting a veteran in your foxhole right next to you as an entrepreneur is your number one priority.
I like that. What do you think, Jason? Melissa? Why should people hire a veteran?
I'll let you go first this time, Melissa.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I mean, 100% what Marcus said. For one, it is the right thing to do. And also to just, there's the list of the different characteristics that veterans have, the timeliness, the leadership, the ability to follow directions. And, and they are the ones that, they're not watching the clock waiting till it's 4:59, like, to punch out. They're there. Also too, companies, you get that, though, there's that workforce credit. So companies can receive a credit back for hiring veterans. There's just, and again, we, like Marcus said, we come in all colors. We're just a reflection of society. And we just also happen to have served in the military. And I think it's so important that we continue to do that, because also too, if we don't hire veterans and our veterans are unemployed, other things happen, and we don't need those other things to happen.
Your turn, Jason.
Well, there is actually very little now that I can add to everything that was said. It's been my experience that every single time I work with veterans, they're very much mission oriented. I think that's one of my favorite things about working with veterans.
Yeah.
That again, regardless of what it is, whether it's let's take that hill or let's grow the company, let's get people to know about us. Regardless of what that mission may be, as long as you have some sort of direction for a company or veteran, they're kind of able to just take that and run with it, right? They don't necessarily need a ton of hand holding. They don't necessarily need a lot of just a lot of. One of the things that happens a lot is that you have people that they may need you need to spend a lot of time with them trying to figure out how it is that you want them to work with you. But every single time I work with veterans, I just basically gave them a little bit of direction. I said, this is what we're trying to do. and then they just roll with it, right? And then they understood the assignment in terms of being able to go out there and try to see how close I can get to this mission that I have. And then anytime that we kind of recalibrated or kind of came back together at that point, it was just an opportunity for us to be able to be better all together, right? So everything that Marcus said, everything that Melissa said, it all applies. I think it's definitely the right thing to do. I'm glad to see that. I think more companies are seeing that now than before, and you have a lot more people that are much more open-minded to being able to hire veterans, where there was much more of a stigma before, or there was obviously the confusion, especially if you come from a background like Marcus and I do, where if you have like an 0311, which is infantry, or in my case, artillery, and you want to transition over to an office, they would immediately kind of just, not even take a look at your resume, simply because they're like, we have no idea how to translate their experience into something that would fit into our environment. Whereas now, there's actually websites, there's applications, there's, programs that help you transition from the military, and they basically take your position just by typing in your MOS, and then they kind of spit out like, okay, these are some of the positions you may be able to take, or these are some of the experiences you may have had, so you can use this in your resume, which is much better at that.
I'm going to add to what you said, Dres. I've seen some military resumes, and I think, whoever was helping with the transition didn't do a very good job, because it was full of military jargon. And even me being in the military, I didn't understand what they were doing, because they were like in a different branch. But I did recognize that, what they did was important. And I would, at least at a minimum, just, get an interview, if they came across my desk, I would try to get an interview with them, just so that I at least give them the opportunity to vie for the job. We are at 13 minutes left. So at this point, I'm going to go and open this up for questions from our audience. If you have anybody here, I know Scott's a veteran. Do you have any questions for our esteemed panel?
Oh, Laura asked what an MOS is.
Oh.
Military Occupational Specialty.
It's their job title.
Yep.
But not all, like in the Navy, we don't call it an MOS. That's a Marine Corps Army thing. And I don't know what the Air Force calls it. I don't know what they call their jobs. But you'll know if a person's been in the military if you say MOS, because
Right.
There are some others that say they're in the military, but they don't know what MOS is. KP.
So any questions from the audience, Scott?
Looks like
Scott,
Tag has his hand raised.
Tag?
Go ahead, Tag. You have to.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'm going to think of some good questions, because Rich, this is a rich panel, pun intended, Rich Foreman, but this is a rich panel right here of knowledgeable people. More of a comment. I just wanted to add on to, I think Marcus started and Drazen finished, and everyone in between. But my feelings about hiring the veteran are all of those hard skills, the call to action, that they're action oriented, as well as the soft skills and the leadership. And I'm just lucky to be amongst the fray of veterans. I'm a 2-year sailor. And I really do feel honored to be a veteran and have served, even though in a time sense, it's a smaller service. But on the ship off Somalia, when we would bring stuff onto the ship, there would be 500 guys starting on the flight deck, handing, 50-pound sacks of potatoes, 500 guys all the way down the stairwells to the bows of the ship. Now, one person might be above that. Well, I'm not carrying potatoes. I got an education and flight deck operation, but for me, veterans, it's the ultimate sign of them putting service above self. And 90% of them do it right out of high school or shortly into college or something of that sense. So for me, looking to build a team of veterans, that loyalty and that sense of service, you lose yourself to find yourself, and you're showing that everybody's the same, and we all go into it to the same, and we all have that common goal. So I don't know if that falls in the soft skills, but to me, in a world of me now, that really means a lot. Somebody that shows they have that ability to take orders, and hopefully if I learn to do that well enough, maybe I'll be in a position to give orders, and not for the sake of giving orders, for the sake of I know how to follow orders. So I was also going to comment to Marcus's. I appreciate that about surrounding myself. Here I sit in an office alone on a Friday in Sacramento, but Pride, some of the partnerships, I do appreciate that. But going to college in Flagstaff, Arizona, out of the Navy was shell shock, to say the least. Socks with Birkenstocks and mountain bike. And so I really do. Yeah, I got a little bit of that. It was good, but took me a little while. Did not fit in, was ready to drop out after the first semester. And that's another story, but did not fit in, missed the routine. And I still long for a routine, and that has, different things in my life now, but recognizing that isolation, that loneliness, and like Marcus spoke to, surrounding yourself with people. I work at that, but then I think all of us as entrepreneurs, right? The creative founder that has these, it doesn't speak to that side of it. And it's a constant battle of how much time are you in the creative and chasing the shiny object, I think Marcus said, which we're all familiar with, and how much are you buckling down with teammates saying, hey, we're here to tackle and gain traction and get that next hill, like Drazen said, before we think about the war. Let's get through the first battle and just get, positioned. So I'm raising my hand to say I actually really struggle with that, Marcus, and accepting, who to work with. And the VBOC, I'm on the board of the VBOC actually, and I've been lucky to have consulted with them since 2009. So not as regularly as they think I should be in there. Like I said, I struggle with that, but getting those resources and self-awareness of where you need help and where your weaknesses are. I don't think I'm alone in that. I think that looking for that routine is where I thrive and trying to build around that. So, and appreciate all of your service and just the fact you're willing to jump on a call Friday and share your time and experience with all of us. And by the way, I'm the founder and CEO of Tag Carts. We build, we're advancing healthcare by making nurses safer and more efficient with technologically advanced medical carts for the practice of healthcare. And we're using environmentally friendly materials and assembling them with U.S. veterans and Americans with disabilities at Pride. So thank you all. And I'll think of a good question here for somebody.
Actually, we're going to wrap up pretty soon, but Marcus and Melissa, I know Dresden, you already put your email, but do you mind putting your contact information there? I think there's a few people here that are probably want to reach out to you afterwards. So if you don't mind putting your contact information in the chat.
Hey, can we follow up? Like last time I was on one of these, my ADD, like the chat's going nuts right now. So can you leave it on so we can follow up to that? Because once the thing ends, the chat goes away and then I can't see all that.
You got it. And you can also, you should be able to press the little 3 dots. And if you want to save it, you can do that. And I can save it and maybe share it with you as well.
Okay, thank you.
I think Scott had a hand raised.
Okay, Scott.
I didn't have a question. I just kind of had a comment because you all were talking about hiring vets, and I was in a long time ago, but one of the things that I really appreciate about veterans is, and I put it in the chat, is a phrase that I've always liked. It's a bias for action. Do things happen to you, or do you make things happen, right? And so there's courage in a vet, right? And I'm not saying non-vets don't have courage. Of course they do. Our co-founder Dave has had a tremendous amount of courage working with me on this project that we're working on. But vets have to make some pretty tough decisions, and first of all was sign up, make it through basic, move forward, learn how to follow, learn how to lead. And so when I hope I find myself in a position very soon where I can hire people, and yeah, I will absolutely be all ears and open armed for vets. And I've just got a lot of respect for all of them. I don't know the 4 of you all that well, but I love you and I appreciate all the work you did. So that's it.
And I just want to know, Scott is also a Marine. We know a lot of Marines here. Scott is also a Marine veteran.
Well, it is the Department of the Navy, so we could include them.
That's
Rich.
true.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Marine stands for, right? Marines always ride in Navy equipment.
I'm married to Marine, so yeah.
So I am looking, are there any other questions at this point? I don't see it. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. I think Cameron's going to leave the meeting up a little bit so that Dresden's and Marcus and Melissa's contact information will still be there. I actually want to thank Cameron and Arlene for all of your hard work this week. It's been amazing. Global Entrepreneur Week, 30 events. So thank you for that. Thank you for actually putting veterans on as a part of a topic. I think we're often overlooked. So thank you for that. And with that, again, I want to thank Dresden. I think it's like 6 o'clock in Virginia. So thank you for that on a Friday. Marcus and Melissa, thanks again. I hope to see you soon. And Marcus, I'd love to be a mentor. So with the Growth Factory. So ping me on that.
Love to have you.
Thanks for coming again. Thanks for our esteemed panelists and for coming, giving your time on a Friday afternoon, because I know I personally had to move things around to make this work. So thank you again. And with that, I guess we could go ahead and disconnect. And Cameron, you'll go ahead and leave this up a little bit longer so people can get the contact information.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, Laura.
I want to know what each of you got for free yesterday on Veterans Day.
Oh,
No, great question.
Anyone get a haircut? A
Free.
meal?
okay. I'm embarrassed to say this, but Veterans Day is like Christmas. So I started out with going to Denny's, and actually Scott and I had breakfast, so we got a Grand Slam. On the way home, on the way to the Veterans Day parade, I actually stopped by Wendy's and picked up breakfast for my wife. I think after the parade, I got a coupon for a haircut at Great Clips. And I also got pizza from Little Caesars for my family for lunch. And then I also
You got a system down, Rich.
We earned this. Went to BJ's for lunch. And then Scooters, I actually went to Scooters and got a big Frappuccino. And then I think at the end, my family and I went to Chili's and I got a free, we got one free meal, but it ends up paying more because you end up paying for your family. So, but I'm also happy to patronize those that business that helps vets. And actually one of the things I really love was, I went to BJ's, and then so beside me was an Air Force veteran, and the other side to me was another Air Force veteran, because we were just there for the free meal. But we just sat there and we talked for 45 minutes about what we did. So that's the other thing I liked about this. So shamefully, I did partake in the Veterans Christmas Day, but if you guys haven't had a chance to do it, it is quite fun. So.
Sounds like you need to make a bingo game or something, Rich.
Yeah.
Oh, I planned it the day before. I have a whole list of what I'm going to be doing for the day. So
Clearly, there was a plan.
Make another app.
That's good.
all right. So you guys, thank you so much for
Awesome.
attending, and you have a Semper Fi. All right, Scott. Hoorah.
Right.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Appreciate the invite, Rich and Cameron. Thanks everyone as well.
My pleasure. Thank you all
Have a great
for.
weekend.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.